My name is Matt Reisinger. I'm a builder here in Austin, Texas. My company is called Reisinger Build, and I also do a series of YouTube videos that I call the Build Show on YouTube. You know, the future of our business, both as a builder and I think as a manufacturer who's in the fenestration business, I think the future is both durability and efficiency. I got a chance to travel through Europe this past year, and I went to the Bau show, which is a German show. I know they also have Fensterbau. I've not been to that yet, but traveling through Switzerland and Germany and France, I was so struck as an American builder by how differently things are built over there, and honestly, part of that is just how old those countries are compared to where we are. You know, I built in Austin, Texas, and an old house in Austin is a 50-year-old house. And a 50-year-old house in Europe is a pretty young house, a pretty young property project. Houses there are hundreds of years old. And when people are building, they tend to think differently about the life cycle of the project and the building. And they're also seemingly thinking about, when my grandchildren inherit this place, I want to make sure that the house and the project and the property are still durable, are still efficient, are still well built and well done. And so, for instance, walking through the Bau show, I was just struck by the manufacturer's presentation there being what I would consider top of the line materials, and mostly out of budget for American houses, except for the most expensive houses. Whereas, even the least cost houses there have some of the most durable both products and processes and techniques to build with, because they're interested in century-long or multiple century durability compared to the U.S., where we tend to think in decades rather than in centuries. So building in different parts of the country for me has been really beneficial. I started my career, or actually before I started my career, I was doing remodeling in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania region where I grew up. I grew up doing kind of a Habitat for Humanity type work in junior high and high school, but actually working on old houses rather than new houses. So I got to see some beautiful 100-year-old houses that were really neglected in the kind of downtown Pittsburgh area. And then when I started my career, I started with a national home builder in the 90s in the Washington, D.C. marketplace. And that's a pretty cold, snowy climate, and worked there for many years, but only on the production builder level, so building pretty darn affordable, kind of a lower cost housing. Then I moved to Portland, Oregon in the early 2000s. And worked in that marketplace. Totally different, marine climate, tons of rain. It would rain a little bit every day, all day. Whereas moving to Texas now and having been here 15 years, we actually get about the same annual rainfall as when I lived in Portland, Oregon, in the mid 30s to kind of 40 inches a year. But we get it 5 inches at a time, and we go for long periods with no rain. And we also have a hot, humid climate here, which means that houses act very differently. And what's interesting to me, kind of looking back on that, is if you were to build a house in Minnesota and build that exact same process in Texas, that same house, it would be an abject failure. We really need to be cautious about how we build in different climate zones. And that goes for the window manufacturers as well, because a window that's going to work really well in Minnesota may not work as well in Texas. Down here, I want a really low SHGC. I'm trying to reject that sun's heat because we're in a cooling dominated climate. Whereas someone in the north is going to want potentially a much higher solar heat gain. They want that gain from the wintertime to heat up the house. Whereas in the summertime, they don't have the same heat load that I do down here. So the science of building a better house has really fascinated me over the years. And it's one of the things that I love about our industry is that there's always something more to learn and to know about. And I think that's what I've enjoyed getting to know my friends at ALMA, is that you guys also, like me, are interested in always doing a better product and furthering the technology behind what we do and what we build. I've also done a lot of install videos over the years because if you watch any of my videos, you'll know that I say all the time that window failures and window problems, 90+% of those are all install issues and not manufacturer issues, even though usually the manufacturer is getting a call or maybe even getting the blame, when really it's an install and a workmanship error on the usually on the builder's fault, on my builder friends making that mistake. So I've got some great videos out there, but some of the trickier installs are, for instance, what we see a lot here in Texas, which is recessed windows. So check out my recessed window install, because one thing I've learned in even the last 10 years is how to use some more commercial products on residential installs to make some of those trickier installs, trickier flashing details go much easier when we're using different products than we're used to using in the residential side.